This time on Kustom Works, we're looking at the tonneau cover and the rear window. Let's get to the workshop. First, let's have a look at this custom-made tonneau cover. Okay, so another thing I've been up to, I've made this tonneau cover that hinges. I've tried to go about this one as simple as possible. The last tonneau cover on the other truck sat flush in and it had to have all the gullies and that, but of course the water just will run off of this. And at the front I've put this fixed piece of cover, the hinges sit in. So all of this is going to be covered in aluminium, and the way I'm going to do it, I'm going to sort of laminate it in aluminium. I'm going to round these edges so I can bring a nice clean strip around there, cover the top, maybe some rivet details. I'm not sure at the minute, but we want to make this look a lot better than it does at the minute, where it just looks like a bit of a plywood box. And it does work nice, and there's some good load space in there, some old tools, load of rubbish. But yeah, it should be a lot better, and I'm put this on gas rams as well, because at the minute it's a bit like, oh, hold it there, I've got it. No. So, the bumper. Last time we saw this bumper, what I'd done is just got it in 40 grit, sanded it to the right shape, but little bits of plywood and everything was sticking through. Since then, I've gone over this in fiberglass tissue and some resin. So I'll be giving this the lightest of sandings. I don't want to sand through the tissue, I don't want to go through the resin. Then I'll cover it in filler and smooth all that out, and it'll look great. So also here on this rolled rear pan, just to reinforce this edge, because literally it's just one thing super glued to another, I formed this angled edge which I'll be able to round up and make look nice. And what I'm going to make that look like is this sort of trim on the body, but rather than making a piece of this curved, I've done it all in fiberglass, and that makes that corner super strong. And also the bean cans that we stuck in to French those lights, I went round just on the front here just to make sure they're stuck in really well with some JB weld, and they're bonded in on the back with like a PU sealant, so they are in there and not coming out. There'll probably be some other glassing on this before it's done, just to make sure it's super strong and sturdy. And like I say, using dye bond really makes things quick, but sometimes you've probably got to go over them with a layer of fiberglass just to make sure everything under the filler is all one piece with no sort of joins that are going to move. If you look down here, I've put hundreds of screws in this, but I've taken all of the screws out. All this was stuck with the PU sealer, sort of a stick flex sort of stuff, and that will hold it. You don't need the screw, because what will happen is you leave the screw in, you grind the head of the screw back, the screw's made of steel. Steel goes rusty, pushes the filler out when water gets in. So this is what we always want to stop. So I've eliminated any steel, any ferrous metal from anywhere in this. So once this is all filled and sanded down, it's all good. And it's good for years and years, and the water won't affect it. But if you can, if you're screwing and gluing, take the screws out. Glue will do all the work. Okay, and so the tonneau bed works okay, but it needs to look a little bit better than it does. So let's do some sanding, take them corners off. Right, so I've rounded these corners off, and they're looking a lot better. And now what I'm doing is I'm just filling this edge so the edge has got no sort of undulation in it, and everything's nice and square. This is square, and then when I laminate all of this in aluminium, you know, everything will just go on a lot better. But you've got to have the prep there. If you've not got the prep, well, it's not worth bothering, is it? So I've fitted the rams, and this is how it works. let's look at the rear window. So that rear window is never really going to look any good because it hasn't got enough sort of rebate to bond the glass in neatly. So what I've done, took a mould from our moulds that we use in the taxi pickups, which is a little bit big, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to section this down, squint it down a little bit for a sort of semi-chopped look, and make it maybe, I don't know, 40mm narrower, and then that is going to be bonded into the back of the cab. And then what we've got this nice curve here, and then we've got a rebate to bond the glass into, and just all together a lot more rigid sort of rear to the cab. At the moment, you can't really see, but that bit still flexes quite a lot. But what the window reveal gives us, again, it gives us this angle that stiffens everything up. So once this is bonded in, that will be a lot better. So this is a back window of the cab that we have in the taxi conversions. And what I've done is I've taken a mould of it out of our moulds. I've sort of roof chopped it so it's a little bit smaller and then glassed it back together. And what I'm going to do is remove this whole section. I'm going to put this in instead because what's there hasn't got a strong rebate. You know, this has got a good rebate working. Bond the glass back, then put a nice rubber trim around it. Yeah, make it look really good. Whereas what's there, I very much doubt that I could ever make that look good. I'm pretty sure as well it's actually wonky to other parts of the body as well, and there's no real rebate. And I know someone's had a real good go at it, but it's never going to look right. So what we're going to do, we're going to chop that out in a nice clean square, and we're going to glass this back in, and job done. So now we've cut that out, we've had a look, this is about the right size. So what I'm going to do is screw some bits of wood in there, and then I can screw this back and get it to actually sit with the contour of the panel, and then we can really see how it's going to look and which way it needs to be and if there's any adjustment needed. Okay, so the back window in this A40. Now, I've made a new back window recess, but for some reason, I just can't get it to look quite right. So what I'm doing now is looking at the horror of the one that came with it. I think this has been siliconed together, and it really is. It's just an absolute nightmare. But because it's cut out of the back of the truck, what I've managed to do is I've soaked this overnight in thinners, and I'm hoping that the thinners ruin the silicone and I'll get this out clean, and then I'll be able to build a rebate on this, use this glass and bond this back into the back of the truck. It seems a crazy way to do it. The new window just don't look quite right, and the only way I ever would have got this out of here was by taking it out. So in a sort of roundabout way, it's exactly the right way to do it. So I'm going to get the knife in there and see if I can separate it out. Okay then, so well, we've got them apart. Now, what I'll try and do is clean all of this silicone off of there. I'm pretty sure this is silicone. And one thing to bear in mind, if anything like this has ever been done to a car and someone has used silicone to bond a window in, and it's something I do myself, you've really got to clean this bit. Like, you've got to strip all the silicone off, and then you've got to panel wipe it and panel wipe it and panel wipe it. Keep your hands clean and everything, because silicone is very, very difficult to get rid of. So that's what we'll be doing to that, cleaning that up, and then what I'll be doing is forming this rebate a lot deeper. It goes back a little bit further with a bit more of an upstand, so I'll probably be cutting this off and then sort of glassing something in from the back. The full way of how it's made will all become apparent as I'm making it. But yeah, let's get this cleaned up. Okay then, now I'm going to try and remove this chrome trim and not break this piece of glass. I'm going to need a bigger knife. Okay then, let's try it again with the Sawzall blade. Wow, this really is just like a gluey, horrible nightmare. Well, there we go. We got that off. You know what? I thought this was like a piece of plastic, but that's a piece of polished stainless. What a lot of trouble to go to for something that looks so bad. Oh well. It's in the bin now. So all we got to do is now obviously clean this piece of glass up, and I think probably a Stanley blade and a scraper is what we need. We'll get that cleaned up. Okay, over the next week what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to keep working at this rear window and hopefully try to get something that looks right and something that's going to look good in the back of the truck. And I do think the only way to do that is just to keep working at it and just try to get there. Okay, so join us next time when we're going to be doing more bodywork and getting this body straight, getting everything dialed in and looking great. Until then, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to leave a message down below, click the bell icon for regular updates and all of that stuff. Until next time, thank you very much and good night.